Dear friends, good evening. I bow to the lotus feet of Sri Swami Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, Sri Sharada Mata and Swami Vivekananda. We are all very fortunate to have Swami Nirbhayananda Sarswathi ji with us this evening. He is the president of ASHRAMs at GADAG in BIJAPUR, Karnataka state. Swamiji has represented India in many occasions all over the world. He was invited by Parliament of the World's Religion to address the world community in Barcelona, Spain in 2004 about Indian educational initiatives. Swamiji runs a residential school in Managoli, Bijapur district for orphans and destitute children. The school began with 30 students and today the strength is 417 with an outstanding achievement in SSLC, that is 10th grade. Swamiji will conduct 3-day SATSANG series in Richmond, Virginia. The topic for today is An Echo of Indian Philosophy. Tomorrow the subject will be Man, Know Thyself, and on Wednesday evening the subject will be the power of positive attitude. So we are here to welcome Swamiji to give us a speech, a discourse on the modern science, An Echo of Indian Philosophy. I welcome him on behalf of all Richmond friends. Thank you.
Is a great saint from Karnataka. A very great saint. Beautiful compositions. Ellaru ಮಾಡುವುದು ಹೊಟ್ಟೆಗಾಗಿ, ನೀನು ಬಟ್ಟೆಗಾಗಿ, ಹಿಟ್ಟಿಗಾಗಿ. Finish. All our endeavors are aimed at only providing ourselves with a few morsels of food. A little of clothing, that is all. A little of shelter. Everything else is, strictly speaking, from philosophical point of view, is an expression of vanity man wants to create around his own self. They are all vanities. Of course, there is no limit for vanity. Even if the whole world comes and falls at your feet, you will never say, I had enough. As far as needs are concerned, necessities are concerned, they are absolutely limited. Vanities are limitless. And there is a burden. Vanity is a burden ultimately. The body itself will become a burden as age advances. There is one thing that will never become a burden, or I should better say, that will never become jaded. Body becomes jaded. No doubt, body becomes jaded. There is one thing that will never become jaded, that is your mind. There is one more thing that is ever fresh, ever vigorous. That is your own self. You know why? Why the creation has been so? athleticism and whatnot, fit enough to take part in a WWF. And afterwards, there comes this sets in a process where it goes on losing its vigor, its vibrancy, its vitality, etc. When from it will start? The day body needs are not necessary, calls of body should not be attended to. From the day the sensate calls should be kept aside, body starts waning. But we never take cognizance of all these subtleties in life. We simply go, simply will be going. Once you keenly observe every phenomenon around your own self as well as every phenomenon that nature presents before you, remember, tremendous education is there. Observing nature itself is the perfect education system. The perfect education system should train up its votaries in the art of observing the natural phenomena, not merely mugging up things, cramming every type of information into the hollow space of your brain, making it undigested all through, making it run chaotic all through, creating riots inside, confusion inside. That is how presently the things are. We never bother about, because we don't mind frittering away our energies. If only we do not want to fritter away our energy and make the best use of every bit of God has given, well, we need altogether different education. That is what we call spiritual education. Shri Satyanarayana
Satchidananda Shri Satyanarayana
Satchidananda Shri Satyanarayana
Satchidananda Shri Satyanarayana.
Lastly, about Swami Vivekananda. It is because of him that today the preachers of Sanatana Dharma are able to land on American soil and do something. The pioneer for all the spiritual activities of Indian origin that are taking place today within the shores of United States. How much he had to toil here to get a footing, to get himself established. It's a big story in itself. When he came to Chicago, they denied the admission to him. They were never prepared to accept him as a delegate from Hinduism. Reason being, he never had brought any credential from Hindu community that this man would be the bona fide representative of Dharma that he speaks about. America is a country that goes by formalities more than anything else. Therefore they said, sorry sir, we can't accept you. You don't have a credential. Show your bona fides. Sannyasis will be very much ignorant of several things. Or I should say, except some bhajan and lecture and some meditation and some japam, they are ignorant in everything. He never knew such a highly scholarly man who shook America later within 3 years to its foundations, never knew that it did require on his part to take a credential from India. What to do? There is no money in the pocket. Money is, whatever little money is there, that is running out. But inscrutable are the ways of Lord. Somebody suggested, better go to Boston compared to Chicago, cost of living is less there. He came across a lady in the train by name Catherine Sadbar, who invited him to be her guest. He was just waiting for one such opportunity. Went straight away to her house. The lady was extremely moved at the magnetism of Swami Vivekananda in every sense of the term. Next door neighbor of that lady was one John Henry Wright, a professor in Harvard University, teaching Greek, the language of Greek there in Harvard. She went to the professor's house, who was a friend of her, and said, a very interesting personality from India has arrived. Would you like to talk to him? Professor's reaction was, so many people will come to your house. Should I go on talking to them every time you want me to talk to? Because you are asking me, don't disturb me. Send him for a while. Vivekananda came. And of course, when two giant personalities meet, so many things will transpire beyond their own imagination. What ensued later, I don't know, but Vivekananda went on talking to him, not 5 minutes, not 10 minutes, 5 hours, 5 days, 15 days. This professor, with his eyes wide awake, eyebrows held up, as though a baby is listening to the stories being told by grandmother, listening to every bit of what Vivekananda is saying, who was of almost his son's age. At the end, Professor makes an exclamation like, Swamiji, I am sure after Columbus discovered our nation, there had never come a person like you to this country. There had never come. What wonderful ideas, original ideas, life-giving, enlightening ideas we have. The whole country should come to know of it. The easiest way whereby the whole country can know you and your thoughts is that you must take part in the Parliament of Religions. In Kannada, there is an adage, Rogi Baisiddu Halu Anna. Vivekananda laughingly tells Professor, there is exactly the reason why I came to your country, Professor, but I am denied. I am bluntly denied the opportunity to take part in the parliament. Denied. Why for? Because I haven't brought. They asked me for a credential, which I have not brought. Professor's reaction was, Swamiji, what do you think you are telling? To ask a person like you for a credential is something like asking the sun to show his right to shine. That was his reaction. Doesn't matter. Chairman of the selection committee, organizing committee is my own friend. I, from myself, will give you the credential needed. He gave a letter of introduction in which they ran a sentence like, here is a monk from India who is more learned than all our American learned professors put together. Such a great man. Later, things constitute the history, which I don't want to prevail much upon already. I have taken a lot of time prescribed for the lecture part with our obeisance and thanks to Swami Vivekananda. Let us enter into the program proper. Please repeat just as you have been doing. Jaya Vireshwara Narendranatha. Jaya Vireshwara Narendranatha. Jaya Vireshwara Narendranatha. Jaya Vireshwara Narendranatha. Jiva Deva. Jiva Deva. Sunyana Pradata. Sunyana Pradata. Jaya Vireshwara. Jaya Vireshwara. Narendranatha. Narendranatha. Jiva Deva. Jiva Deva. Sunyana Pradata. Sunyana Pradata. Dina Jana Shraya. Dina Jana Shraya. Vishwa Sovanya. Vishwa Sovanya. Dina Jana Shraya. Dina Jana Shraya. Vishwa Sovanya. Vishwa Sovanya. Tapati Mirahara. Tapati Mirahara. Vivekananda. Vivekananda. Dina Jana Shraya. Dina Jana Shraya. Vishwa Sovanya. Vishwa Sovanya. Tapati Mirahara. Tapati Mirahara. Vivekananda. Vivekananda. Jaya Vireshwara Narendranatha. Jaya Vireshwara Narendranatha. Jaya Vireshwara Narendranatha. Jaya Vireshwara Narendranatha. Jiva Deva Sunyana Pradata. Jiva Deva Sunyana Pradata. Jaya Vireshwara Narendranatha. Jaya Vireshwara Narendranatha. Jiva Deva Sunyana Pradata. Jiva Deva Sunyana Pradata. Dina Jana Shraya Vishwa Sovanya. 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 Tapati Mirahara Vivekananda. Tapati Mirahara Vivekananda. Dina Jana Shraya Vishwa Sovanya. Dina Jana Shraya Vishwa Sovanya. Tapati Mirahara Vivekananda. 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 Big Bang theory is one of the profoundest portions physics has recorded. We all know lacuna that it suffers from. It has to have lacuna. There has to be lacuna in that. Not only in Big Bang theory, there has to be lacuna in all other inventions also that is to come from the Western scientific community for another how many years I don't know, but till they come to understand how the epistemology should be followed in interpreting things, there will have to be lacuna in every invention they study about, in every invention they undertake. Friends, remember, there is a subject called as epistemology. How do we get knowledge? How knowledge will come? Through perception. Senses, why for the senses are created? I can see and supply all the datum. Ear can hear. It has all the faculty for doing it. It can also supply some datum. Every sense organ can supply a datum. Therefore, in Sanskrit, they are rightly called as jnanendriya. The indriya that is meant for the acquisition of jnana, of course. Most of the times we use them for acquiring ajnana also. Every indriya is there only for providing us, supplying us with some jnana. I must observe so many things and it should send some information to my consciousness. This is the thing I am coming across. Just as Newton observed an apple falling down, Siddhartha observed a dead body and a deceased-stricken man. An old man also, a man of a dead body. Every time our senses come across certain things, there are so many ways whereby they show their reaction or response. The world is full of stimuli. A person comes and simply passes before me. My nervous system gets a stimulus. Millions of stimuli every day, rather, we come across. How should we respond? It's a big question. If only we were to know how to respond to a stimulus, our life would have been entirely different. The humanity would have had altogether a different history. How to respond to the stimulus. Why stimulus come first of all? Is one stimulus such that it can trigger the same response from all? Never. Here, what is the variable then? Variable is the observer and not the phenomenon that is taking place, sending forth all the stimuli. Stimulus is one and the same. So many people have seen apple falling down and majority of them have gone to that place and eaten it away. A few also complaining as to why it only few apples have fallen down instead of the whole system of apple that is there in the body of the tree having fallen. Why only that took place? That sort of a reaction also can come. A response also can come. Nature has been conducting huge experiments. Lots of experiments. In fact, science is always born in a laboratory. And laboratory is a place where certain things take place. What is that takes place? First of all, we experiment. And we collect the datum, depending upon how the experiment is. We conduct an experiment and we make an observation. We come to a conclusion. And a pocket of knowledge pertaining to science is produced thereby, which registers itself or which registers for itself a sure place in the body of the scientific knowledge that is already there for the benefit of the humanity. That's how knowledge goes on getting stored up. Knowledge gets its accretions day by day. As the process of experimentation goes on in all parts of the world. The whole problem, the gist of the problem is, when such a thing is taking place, why the discoveries are not able to stand the test of truth even for 100 years? Dalton says something, within 100 years it fizzles out. Why? It falls down, crumbles down. gets itself crushed to pieces, crushed to a powder. Was Dalton a fool? A Rutherford comes and uproots all the findings of Dalton. Is Rutherford safe in any case? A Niels Bohr comes and uproots Rutherford. Einstein comes and uproots a Newton. Newton and Descartes both are uprooted by Einstein. A Heisenberg will come and say, Einstein, you are yet to learn physics. Why such things are happening? It's a $1 million question before the scientific community, especially in the West, of course, scientific community of India also, because Indian scientists still have not developed that grit to undertake the process of invention on their own lines. Because they don't have that grit, they cannot maintain their individuality, they have to fall in line with the West, and therefore their fate is no different. I want, if somebody invents something, it should live through eternity. I want, if somebody says something, it should be beyond time and space. I want a thing like when something is registered as a part of science, its fame, its validity, its relevance should never suffer. It should have an eternal relevance, an eternal validity. Why this is not happening so? All these things are happening because the scientists are not following the way Indian philosophers followed for their invention pertaining to the subject of philosophy, which the Westerners called as philosophy, while Indians themselves called as search for truth. What Indian philosophy is, it is a philosophy for the Westerners, because philosophy has got a different connotation in the West. It has to do more with the speculation. It has to do more with the speculation rather than anything else. If something is speculated, enter into the philosophy given by Hegel of Germany, you will find it out. Also go through the philosophy given by Schopenhauer. Go through even the philosophy given by people like Plato and Aristotle. Go through philosophies given by so many series of philosophers that we come across in the Western world, and you will see all those things are abstract intellectual exercises offering a very good exercise for the faculties in the brain world of a man. My point is, my complaint is, can they give any information about truth itself? Can they help me in knowing at least a little bit of truth? I have my own doubt. Friends, this is not a prejudicial statement. This is not a vehement condemnation of the sincere effort on the part of a Westerner to arrive at the truth. This is a fact. The fact is being presented before you in a language that is my own. Because the hemisphere that boasts of so much of an achievement in every field of life should equally have an opportunity to boast of its achievement in the field of search for truth also. Why not? Why not? On the other hand, we said something in Rig Veda. Can anyone for that matter, prove it wrong? We said something in Atharvana Veda. Can anyone prove it wrong? We said something in Kathopanishad. Can anyone say it doesn't stand the test of truth? We said something in Shvetashvatara Upanishad. Do you say it is something of falsehood? Has anyone got the audacity to declare that all these things are irrelevant in 21st century, therefore we can shun them away? Can anyone say? Please, children should not move here and there. Some children are moving here and there. They must stick to their chairs, please. Let the parents take the responsibility. It's a serious subject, you see. Where is the difference then? In India, it is not so. In the West, this is so. And we call again as science only. We call this as science only. Instead of calling it as science, I should better call as some information. Till now we have had information. Till now we are able to extract from the secrets of nature. Science, remember friends, is not a subject in itself. It is a methodology whereby we approach truth. Science is not a subject. I do not know how it is. In India, that superstition is deep-rooted. Only physics is science for them. Geography is no science. It is arts. Economics is no science. Everywhere, even the subject of how to sweep the ground has got some science in that. If air is blowing in this direction, if you sweep in the opposite direction, the man doesn't know the science of sweeping. While preparing curry or while preparing coffee or tea, if you put sugar or salt right in the first instance, soon after the water is put on the stove, if you put salt or some sugar crystals, remember, you don't know science. Because there is what is called as a correlative property, according to which solution has got a higher boiling point, you are wasting some fuel. Science is such that it is something that should aid, it should strengthen your position in society. If there is some sort of a lacuna on the part of the Western invention, as against the absence of the same, when their own counterparts have put their efforts to arrive at science from the Eastern Hemisphere, it is because the defect in the methodology that the West has adopted, as I said. What is the methodology they have adopted? As I said, they take datum from the sense perception. Sense perception alone is not sufficient. For example, all the 750 crores of people in the world will say, sky is blue in color, but that is not blue. All the 750 crores human population on the earth, in the world, today they say, going by the definition of displacement, etc., it is sun that is moving, because my perception is that sun is moving and not the earth. Because in the morning he was at that horizon, somewhere around 1 o'clock in the afternoon, he came somewhere here, and in the evening he was at the other horizon. How can we say sun is not moving? Going by perception. Going by perception. It is going by logic that today you have come to know. So therefore, there is another faculty in addition to the sensory system. Sensory system is not the adequate equipment for telling all about truth. Beyond sensory perception, there is one more thing that you have to take recourse to, that is the logical analysis. Here, Western science stops. Beyond that, it is not going. Therefore, only inferences are kept as the basis for saying things about truth. Only inferences. And why should there be the same inference for every scientist? Why should this scientist have the same inference as that scientist has got? And why, all scientists have got the same inference. Even then, that can never be anything that can be called as a truth, because what guarantee is there that today's inference will remain same 100 years hence? That's what exactly that is happening. When Rutherford gave the atomic model, it could satisfy all the hitherto drawn inferences about how the atom is. The moment electrons started behaving as a wave, then came the shock. Especially there came another scientist who said there doesn't exist a thing like electron at all. It is purely a mathematical abstract concept into which we have no entry at all. Therefore, there is no point in bothering our heads about what sort of a particle is that, what is the speed of that, what is the mass of that, and all that. Today we have all these things stored up in quantum physics. It is purely an abstract, mathematical abstract. Whatever electron may be, but it is never a particle. It is not at all. It is a fuzzy material. Whether it is revolving around the nucleus is a question mark. If there is any nucleus at all, there is also a question mark. Forget about having protons and neutrons held up together in that tiny center, a micropoint. Forget about all those things. Whether they exist at all, that is again the question mark. Even if they exist, how long they can exist, how to study, you can never study them. You can't, especially as far as electrons are concerned, you can't even study them, because any effort that is made in the direction of studying them will kick away the electron, kill the electron, and the electron you want to study will no more exist. And therefore, still it is quite elusive. Like that, versions are changing. Every 50 years, versions are changing. The present version will have nothing to do with the previous version. And the version that is to come 50 years hence will have nothing to do with all the previous versions, and the versions are going on changing. What exactly is truth about them? What exactly about truth? What is truth? That is why I said even 1,000 years later, the confusion will remain if the methodology of arriving at truth remains same. About 3-4 years ago, I was in Denver, perhaps in the year 2008, about 9 years ago, I was in Denver. Some Indian engineers, young engineers approached, and while the discussion was going on about various things of mutual interest, they brought to my notice one point, that some sort of an experiment was going on in Switzerland or France, what they said, I don't know, in a tunnel, and if that experiment becomes a success, the whole creation will go back to the state of Big Bang, and there will be a cataclysm. All the creation will be totally dissolved, it will be swept off. We go back to the most rudimentary stage that we were just at the time of Big Bang. Swamiji, if that happens, I won't be there, you won't be there, and there won't be any future visits of you to America, there won't be anything of that kind. So whatever we want to talk, let us exhaust all subjects right now. That was the sort of the feeling with which they were talking to me. Friends, I said, such a thing can never happen. About 40 years ago, I studied physics in National College, Bangalore. That is all the knowledge of physics I have got. Just based on that, I told such a thing would never happen. You know why? Because I know something much higher than physics. Whatever physics that these people are making a revolution around is there, no doubt. It is physics again. It is still physics. Fortunately, by the grace of God, I was able to arrive at or knock at the door of some subject that regulates physics, that governs physics. Based on that, I could say nothing will happen. The experimentation was a success. It is known to have been a success. It is reported to have been a success, and they came out with the invention of what today we are all calling as the God particle. Today morning in Washington DC, while talking to people, I was saying the same thing. What is the present status with respect to God particle, you know? One T.G. Krishnamurti is there in Bangalore, who retired as scientist in ISRO, a close friend of mine. One day I telephoned him and asked Mr. Krishnamurti, what is the present position with respect to God particle? Are the scientists in a position to get anything out of God particle, for which they were doing all this searching process? Krishnamurti, in a tone of disappointment, said, Swamiji, now the scientists are caught up in a confusion whether it is a God particle or the God particle. Fortunately, we have got only 2 articles in English language. If we were to have 5 articles in English language, all the articles would have been used as a prefix for this God particle. Ye, the, this, that, and all. Fortunately, we have only 2 articles in English, one indefinite and one definite. And therefore, all the 2 are exhausted. They are in a confusion to know whether it is a God particle or the God particle. Wonderful. Most wonderful. That's what I said today morning. If it is a God particle, you have just added one more to the already existing 237 leptons, mesons, and baryons, and nothing more. If it is the God particle, physics itself will have to keep on for some time, and it should practice some sort of a research work. It should undertake some sort of a research work, not pertaining to physics, but pertaining to how humbly we can search for truth. When this humility can ever come to the scientific community in the West today, remember, they turn their attention towards somewhere else. And what is that somewhere else? Where is that somewhere else? It is nowhere except in Indian Upanishads. Lots of scientists have understood this already. We all know about Robert Oppenheimer, the father of atom bomb. You know what Oppenheimer has said? What we shall find in modern physics is nothing but an exemplification, an encouragement and refinement of ancient wisdom of the Hindus. What we shall find today in modern physics is an exemplification, an encouragement and refinement of ancient wisdom of the Hindus. Robert Oppenheimer could understand. Why not the present scientific community? What we shall find in modern physics is this only. John Wheeler, the man that sat in the chair of Einstein in Princeton University after the retirement of Einstein, goes one step further and he says, I think the seers of India know all. This is John Wheeler's statement. Nobel laureate, remember, the man that succeeded Einstein in Princeton University, who had all the capability to succeed Einstein, who had all the equipment to sit in the chair where Einstein sat for quite a long time. Successor of Einstein in every sense of the term. John Wheeler says, I think the seers of India know all. If we can simply translate into our own language what they have in their own, we would have answers for all our questions. But still, there is what is called as, I should say, an inhibition on the part of scientists. There is a prejudice. This inhibition is a product of their prejudice. And remember, friends, the worst enemy of science, the worst ever enemy of science is prejudice. If you are approaching a scientific invention or if you are undertaking a scientific invention with a prejudiced mind, even after 1000 years, you will never be able to get even an iota of truth. That prejudice will have to be torn off and they have to learn the new faculties of approaching truth and they have to come out. This is how things are. Some 20 years ago, one of my friends, old friends, came and reported to me about his own experience. What he said was, he was a student pursuing physics in National College, Bangalore. As he was passing through Avenue Road, his sight fell upon one book dealing with Big Bang Theory, written by a Russian author. He took hold of the book, caught hold of the book, and as he was going through the foreword of the book written by author himself, a Russian scientist, the first sentence was very catchy. It caught all his attention. What did the first sentence say? It said, this theory was known to ancient Indians. Where is it? This friend of mine, he was just a student at that time, came to Ramakrishna ASHRAM, local Ramakrishna center running, and there he met one Swami Nirbhayananda, who was for quite a long time the warden of Ramakrishna Vidyarthi Mandiram hostel associated with mission activity, Ramakrishna mission activity in Bangalore. Swamiji, this is Russian author who is saying like this. What is he saying? This theory was known to ancient Indians. Where is it in India? Big Bang theory is something that is newly invented. How Indians knew about this? Swamiji, without a second's hesitation, said, yes, it is there in Taittiriya Upanishad. Where is it, Swamiji? Yeah, I can quote the very statement made by the rishis of Taittiriya Upanishad as it appears in the body of the text of the Taittiriya Upanishad. You know what does it say? Atmava Akasha Sambhuta Akashad Vayu Vayu Agni Agne Rapa Adhyat Pruthivi Pruthivyam Voshadaya Voshadibhya Annam Annat Purusha. That is there in Taittiriya Upanishad. Atmava Akasha Sambhuta Akashad Vayu Vayu Agni Rapa Adhyat Pruthivi Pruthivyam Voshadaya Voshadibhyonnam Annat Purusha. That's how it goes. How could the sage that invented Taittiriya Upanishad or the man that composed the Taittiriya Upanishad could have something of the nature of what Big Bang was? Only about 100 years ago, the scientists have invented something which appeared as having been known to Indians ages ago in the days of Upanishads, which in any case definitely not of recency of somewhere anything like 1000 BC or something of that kind. It is of more antiquity. It is of greater antiquity. It is more than 1000 years ago before Christ that all the Upanishads have been composed. Such a long ago, how could we know all those things? This is one thing. Atma, exactly, this appears to be the Sanskrit translation of the present Big Bang theory, or the present Big Bang theory appears to be the English translation of what Taittiriya Upanishad has said. How could Indians know? What did they do for knowing it? Not only this, when I was a boy, that was 8 years old, when I was a boy who was 8 years old, I came across what is called as Amara Kosham, written by one Amara Simha, who was one of the 9 jewels in the court of Vikramaditya. In the course of that book, Amara Kosham, there runs a passage like a statement like Agastya Kumbhasambhava. Agastya was a test tube baby. Agastya was a test tube baby. We knew the technique of building up test tube babies as long ago as during the days of Agastya himself. Remember, Agastya appears in Ramayana, and Ramayana is anything that can be dated back to somewhere around 3000 BC or something of that kind. Even earlier to that, 4000 BC or something like that. Agastya Kumbhasambhava. How would a person will have even a vague idea if at least at some remote point of time, if it were not a reality? Can I even imagine, can I write something even as a fiction if I don't have any sort of a concept like that? And today, it has become a reality. Whatever has become a reality today, if it has been conceived by some man at some point of time, at some remote point, definitely we cannot dismiss it as saying a fiction or just an imagination. Imaginations can at any point of time not become realities. Perhaps it was a reality only unknown to us, we never knew. Let me quote one more example before you and go to the subject of how Indians were capable of coming across all these tools. Only about nearly 100 years ago, some British psychiatrists, they came out with the definition of ego. Remember, yesterday only, while landing from the aircraft that brought me from San Francisco to Dulles Airport, I came across one lady who is working as her designation is something that I have forgotten, in some university, in the department of psychiatry. The moment she mentioned the word psychiatry, there ensued a little bit of discussion between us. And she was dumbstruck to know that India has so much of knowledge about psychiatry and all that. Some 100 years ago, British scientists, they came out with the concept of this ego. According to them, the definition is ego is a convenient, provisional delusion with a tremendous strategic value. That is how they have defined. R.D. Lang is a notable scientist. H.G. Wells, G.B. Wells, they are all scientists from England who have worked like anything on this subject, and today they have come out with the conclusion that ego is a convenient, provisional delusion. It is a delusion, but it has got a tremendous strategic value. If the delusion has got a strategic value, we have to say it is not a delusion, it is a device, it is a strategy. A convenient, provisionally it is accepted. Not always, provisionally it is accepted. For temporary purpose it is accepted. Convenient, provisional delusion with tremendous strategic value. Lot of strategy is there in conceiving, in devising this technique that is called as ego. What is ego, you know? The concept that you have about your own self. Ego is the concept that you have about your own self, which in Sanskrit we call as aham. Remember, there are two entities inside every man. The one entity that is self-evident, that never gets, whose existence never gets affected. The one that is always permanent, that abides under all circumstances, unconditional in its existence, irrespective of the variance in the condition, it remains what it is. That entity that is there inside, which is presiding over all our activities, is self. In English it is self, in Sanskrit we call Atman, whereby we denote our own selves, the self of man, the very essence of the existence of man, that is self. But in addition to this self, one more concept is there, which is predominating over the self itself, that is ego. Suppose if I ask you a question, who are you? You will never say, I am existence absolute, I am knowledge absolute, I am bliss absolute. Nobody will say. Whenever I ask him to say something about his own self, to give his biodata, nobody will say, I am immortal, I am unlimitedly knowledgeable, and I am totally blissful. My bliss is unaffected, my knowledge is unaffected, my existence is unaffected. Nobody will say, but that is actually the fact. That is the truth about him. But what will we say? We will say a modified version or some sort of a conventional version that we have about our own self. I am son of Mr. So-and-so, I am daughter of Mr. So-and-so, I am husband of so-and-so, I am wife of so-and-so. Like that, remember, all those parameters will never pertain to the self that is the permanent entity inside. All those pertain to the ego. If you were not to know about that, if you were not to behave like that, definitely there would never have been anything like what you can call as human activity or any activity at all in the creation. Even plants have the ego. Everything, even a stone piece has got ego. There would never have been any creation at all. There would never have been any creation at all. Because ego is there, there is creation and all the activities that have sprung forth from that creation. Because of the presidency of the ego over the whole system. If we were to think ourselves as self only, there would never be any activity. This is the strategy. That is why those scientists have said it is a convenient provisional delusion with a tremendous strategic value. Again, just a reflection and an echo of what Indians have said long ago. Friends, I think I enumerated 3, 4, 5 instances wherein the modern day discoveries either are an ego, just an echo of ancient Indian discovery. If that is not so, it is suffering from the lacuna. This is the conclusion we can draw based on whatever I have discussed before you till now. Then how we can say, how to account for the Indian philosophy that can act as the mother of all these error-free inventions. All the error-free inventions from the West can owe their origin to India. Wherever there is error, an erroneous Western invention cannot owe its origin to India. If you take the atomic model, nowhere in India you will come across any reference or any description made on the lines Rutherford has given or Niels Bohr has given. It is erroneous and it cannot definitely ascribe or it cannot trace itself to any part of Indian philosophy. If anything can trace itself to Indian philosophy, it is free from error. Ego, the definition of ego is free from error. Test tube, it is free from error. Even Big Bang, to a certain extent, is free from error. It appears as though for science to have all the validation, the sanction from Indian philosophy is a must. It appears as though it is so. How Indian philosophy could be so? How Indian philosophy could be so? That is a million-dollar question that looms large. Remember, friends, coming back to the details of epistemology, till now we have discussed only 2 ways. Either we depend on the sense datum or we depend upon the logical analysis. We go on analyzing. It is through logical analysis we came to know that it is not sun that is moving, it is earth that is moving. Through sense data we came to know so many other things.